It's a whiff. Greetings, everyone. I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad that you are here. Today's nonsense is historic, and we are going to be playing a little bit of mono green tokens. Folks, you know I love tokens, and there's a whole bunch of different reasons for that. But I love the built-in card advantage aspect of it and things like that, right? So today, we're going to be trying to explore that space, but without the addition of any other colors, just straight mono green for consistency's sake. What are the draws to mono green? Well, first of all, we do have a parallel lives effect. If a token would enter, create twice that many instead. But we also have Chatterfang. So if one or more tokens would be created, do that. But then also create that many 1/1 green squirrels. So if we're only creating 1/1s anyway, we're essentially doubling up on all those. Well, the catch here is we're going to be using squirrels and saprolings and Scute Swarms, and beasts, I guess. Technically some plants as well. But the commonality among them is only that they're green. So our Lord effects in the deck are going to be Sylvan Awakenings. Green creatures you control get +1/+1. Whenever a green creature enters the battlefield under your control, you can scry one. And Heraldic Banner, just a mana rock, taps for a mana of the chosen color, and creatures you control of the chosen color get +1/+0. So the idea is we're going from 1/1s to either 2/1s or 2/2s. So we're doubling the power and occasionally doubling the toughness as well. With this combination of things. As far as things that are creating tokens, Squirrel Sanctuary, some of the Verdant Command stuff gives us a little main deck graveyard hate. Chitterspitter for repeatable token production and a way of growing. It only grows our squirrels, but it does grow squirrels, and we are creating more squirrels than other things. Spore Swarm is neat because it's instant speed, and Vivien kind of has a really cool interaction with Chatterfang. Create a 3/3 beast creature token. Put your choice of a trample counter, a reach counter, or a vigilance counter on it. And Chatterfang allows you to do that, but also create a 1/1 as well. So we get to put counter on the 1/1 as well. So kind of a cool little thing, and we're hoping it pays off. Will it? I don't know. Let's find out. This looks like a keepable hand to me. Bug Minister. Going to hit us with Thoughtseize, though. Feels bad. Feels bad. You should know we're experimenting a little bit with our YouTube videos and trying out a few new things. Just trying to figure out what folks like the most. So let me know if this is the sort of thing that you like down in the comments below, and we will do that. Folks, on turn 2, we're going to go with Sylvan Anthem, and our opponent going to go with the Otherworldly Gaze. Just happy they didn't hit us with more hand disruption, Opponent has the portable hole, though. Kind of want to concede right there, but elected, no, it's frustrating, but not going to do it. Going to stick it out. You know how it is. Opponent responds to Chatterfang with a Otherworldly Gaze again. So Chatterfang, though, pretty nice. We're going to go ahead and slam in for 3. Opponent drops to 13. We're going to cast a Heraldic Banner. We're kind of half expecting this to get counterspelled. Our opponent held up a bunch of mana. But it does, in fact, because they have Disruption Protocol, being able to tap the portable hole. So we're going to crash in for another 3. Our opponent has the mech hanger there. We're kind of expecting our opponent to be running Greasefang style stuff. They Otherworldly Gaze again. Faithful Mending. And get more Faithful Mendings in the bin, but we Scute Swarm, folks. We're suddenly making a whole bunch of tokens, and, our opponent does have to do something. Remember the Chatterfang giving us squirrels when we would create any kind of tokens, so the Scute Swarm and a land drop going to greatly benefit us there. Thoughtseize going to almost certainly take our parallel lives. In fact, it does not, which led me to believe, holy crud, they must have removal for our Chatterfang, but it's also, just one of those things, like, they've got to have it. Okay, well, they have it, but Squirrel Sanctuary returns to hand. Ooh, Spore Swarm off the top is exactly what the doctor ordered. Yes! Feels good, man. Portable Hole going to take away our Squirrel Sanctuary, and Our opponent was planning on being able to Faithful Mending and not die. But alas, they could not. GG, Bug Minister, GG. Glad we didn't concede that, even though we kind of felt like we needed to. Moving on to the next game, we are up against Lord Ojutai. And they start on Spiral Bluff Canal. We're going to start on Chatter of the Squirrel. Feeling good about this hand in general, but we will need lands. You know, this hand is got the Heraldic Banner, so if we get to 3... Hey, there we go. We should be in pretty good shape, but we're going to just do what the cards say now. We have a 2-mana card. We're going to cast it. We could have Chatter of the Squirrel. It's true. But hold on just a darn minute. Our opponent concedes because they didn't get any lands. So not exactly the most satisfying wins. I'll give you that. But whatever. We'll take it. On to the next game. Erosipsy. Our next opponent. Going to start on a land and a Squirrel Sanctuary. Not too terrible from our side. Our opponent shocks in for the Arboreal Grazer. Inconvenient because they have the follow-up Temple of Mystery and it scries top. Okay, well, Saproling Migration is a reasonable follow-up for as far as we're concerned. Explore, going to pop another land down and another Temple of Mystery, and it scries top again. Not feeling good about these things. Well, we're going to crash in there. And we get to make a 0/1 creature this turn. Unfortunately, our opponent has Cultivate. They are ramping out of their mind. We have, you know, stuff, but not lands. We desperately need the land drop there. So we send a message with our 0/1, get in a couple of points of damage as well, get down the Chitterspitter, and the opponent casts Nisu Shakes the World. Not a good position for us to be in for sure. Notably, the Chitterspitter does say we can sacrifice a token to grow our squirrels, right? No! No land. Feels bad. Well, I accidentally went ahead and pushed the go ahead button there, and that was absolutely incorrect. Our opponent then is able to extra turn. Please stop. Into a bunch more stuff. Nissa tapping, untapping, tapping, untapping, coma. And it feels an awful lot like we're not even playing the same game. Our opponent having access to coma mana, and we're missing land drops. You know how it is. Well, we're going to make a squirrel. Feels bad. Opponent makes 3/3. We sacrifice Saproling to turn our squirrels into 3/3s. And we're going to Scute Swarm. Why are we Scute Swarming? Great question. Because that's just basically all we've got going for us here. So we're going to make a land drop, be able to Chitterspitter as well. You know, because, again, Spore Swarm would have created 3 1/1s at instant speed. But it would have tapped us out. So we don't get the Chitterspitter token either. This way, it develops our board, and we're not expecting removal for Scute Swarm, of course. So this nets us 3 tokens. Spore Swarm would get us 3 tokens. So it's basically the same, only this way we have a Scute Swarm down, so our future land drops are good. Opponent attacks for 6. We're going to throw away a Saproling to preserve our life total some, but we're feeling a little bit out of this game. Going to sacrifice a Saproling as, or a insect creature token as well. Now, folks, our Chatterfang has Forest Walk. Unfortunately, it does not grant Forest Walk to our squirrels. If we can untap here, Chatterfang would indeed be unblockable, and we're pumping out 4/4s every turn. But here's Ugin, throwing cold water on us. That's right, folks. They just downtick, erase our entire board. Their lands are colorless, so it doesn't really matter, and we scoop them up. Ungwar, our next opponent. This hand's keepable, it appears. We get a Khalni Garden down on 1. Kind of gives us a pseudo turn 1 play. And followed up with Sylvan Anthem. Not Sylvan Awakening, that's a different card. I'm going to crash in for 1. That's right, folks. Build your own creature lands, as it were. Opponent has Thieves Guild Enforcer. Crashes in for 1. Considering whether or not to make that as a land drop, but I don't think they have any reliable instants and sorceries and things, and we definitely need the land drop, so we're going to go ahead and just pass. We're expecting a Soaring Thought Thief, so we don't attack. In fact, it is true. So we hang on. Of course, the Verdant Command, pretty nice here. Mills over more lands. Darn it. We need those. Inconvenient. But we get to gain some life and put squirrels on, which means we will be able to scry one and scry one. Hey, it's a land. It's a land. Feels good, man. Trying to decide whether it's Scute Swarm or Parallel Lives this turn. We crash in for 6. I think it's just going to be Scute Swarm. It is true they might have removal for it, but we were also kind of anticipating a counterspell, and we would rather land a Vivien because it's got reach, right? It can get down these reachy creatures. Inquisition of Kozilek. Ha-ha! It's a whiff. And the opponent scoops it up. Taste it! They realize they just could not beat the nonsense that we were about there. The amount of value we were creating was just obtuse, and they scoop them up. So, Pino, our next opponent. We're going to go ahead and start with a forest and pass turn. Not really a whole lot to do there. Opponent goes with Stomping Ground. This is a terrifying start for us, but the Verdant Command gives us activities. What is happening over there? Mind Stone. Opponent ramping in with relatively unconventional means. You don't see that often, so we're kind of worried this could be some kind of mono-brown deck with green and red, I guess? But hold on, there's Explore. What is happening? Why is this going on? I really don't know, but we're here for it. I'm not disappointed. I'm excited. So we're gonna plop a land, go ahead, charge in for 3, pass the turn over to our opponent. They get down another Rockfall Vale, and explore. Into another land. And they do have the Wrath of God. Hey, that's okay. We've got a land and Sylvan Anthem and the ability to scry. Boy, oh boy, do I want that card. It's greedy to keep it, I recognize, but darn it, Vivien and Parallel Lives at the same time. Sign me up, folks. That's the kind of life I want to live. Opponent farewells and suddenly makes me sad about all of the things in my life. But that's okay. We get to slam a Vivien and plus going to go with Vigilance, I guess. Opponent on 9 life with a billion mana goes with Karn, the Great Creator, and -2s to find Cosmos Elixir. Drink it till you burst. And, well, okay. Parallel Lives, this is what we were talking about, folks. This is what we want to do. Vivien gets to put down a beast with a little reachiness on it. But wait, there's more. A second beast shows up. The opponent does have Wrath of God #2 and Cosmos Elixir to gain a little more life, but fortunately we were able to get rid of the Karn. So, Vivien pluses with Vigilance. Going to hold on for the Verdant Command here. Inconvenient. Rubble Reading. Opponent living that land destruction life. Strider would be proud. And the opponent going to do a little life gaining, a little scrying. Of course, we're going to wait until after they're done scrying, so they don't know we're getting 4 1/1s, folks. Count them, 4 1/1s. And we're going to crash in for not 6, but 10. Opponent drops to 5. And we're just going to go ahead, keep ticking up. It's reach this time. And Pino has a Day of Judgment. All right, well, they're living that board sweeping life. Admittedly, I can't judge too harshly. Believe me, I have swept my share of boards in the past. We go ahead plus again. Fateful Absence, no! And Rubble Reading. Going to destroy our land. Inconvenient. Bottom. That's good. Opponent. Okay. Well, we're going to crack a clue. And draw. Remember, folks, when they made us investigate, that was having us create a clue. Well, since we have Parallel Lives, we get a second clue as well. I should have pointed that out when it happened, but definitely a thing that we're pretty excited about. Parallel Lives, aha, living that bonus life. Opponent thinking awfully hard about whether or not to just let us draw the card or possibly do additional things. Of course, we were drawing with the extra mana there. That's why we were doing it on their end step. We are just going to go ahead, gain more life, make some dudes. It's possible I was supposed to be eating things out of the graveyard there. Not sure, but it turns out it doesn't matter because this is lethal and our opponent does not have any recourse. So GG, opponent, GG. All right, Carlos Colmenares, our opponent. We are going to start with Khalni Garden, I believe. But we are waiting for our opponent to take their turn. And they're deep in the tank. In fairness, folks, I think the mulligan decision is typically the most important decision you make in any given game of Magic. In best of one, that's rough. It's very difficult because you don't know in the dark what your opponent's playing, right? So it can be very, very challenging to make good mulligan decisions when you're uninformed, right? So, opponent eventually elects to keep 6. Goes with Kumena faces Kakazan. So we do all of the things we expected to. We're not going to send a message with our 0-1 this time because our opponent could have a bunch of hasty stuff, and we would rather throw away a 0-1 if it comes to throwing things away. Face an interesting decision here, folks. We could be more mana efficient in Scute Swarm or less than mana efficient in Verdant Command, and I think we're going to elect to Verdant Command because this allows us to gain life, so if our opponent tries to do, you know, you can't gain lifestyle stuff, it's good to get it down early. And gaining a little life against mono red is very good. Sure enough, here comes Rampaging Ferocidon. So we gain our lives, get our squirrels, pass, or put down our parallel lives, and pass the turn. Opponent has a Robber of the Rich, takes a point of damage for it, going to crash in with the team. What do we elect to do? Well, let's get rid of the Rampaging Ferocidon. Of course, it's quadruple block because they don't yet have enough mana for Embercleave, but they could have a shock. So if we only block with 3, they could punish us. So land, Vivien. Sign me up, folks. This is a chorus we have sang before. A pair of 3/3 Vigilances, and here comes Rampaging Ferocidon. That is terrifying because we are creating roughly 1 billion tokens every turn, but they're very large. So we can take 1 damage per token if that is what the doctor orders, in exchange for, you know, truly beating our opponent down. Now, yep, we take 2, but we added 6 power to the board. We're going to go ahead and slam a second Vivien. Yeah, you guessed it, folks. Here comes more Vigilant 3/3s, down to 14. Opponent takes their draw for the turn, up to 6 mana. Kumano faces the Kakazan, hits our face, and Bone Crusher Giant? That's what you got? All right, take your point of damage, down to 12. Well, folks, we have 6 3/3s. Combat. We're going to hold back the 1/1, largely out of arrogance. But GG, opponent, GG. Our next opponent, Chris87, and yeah, I mean, you know, Temple of Enlightenment, going to do a bit of scrying. Where do you go with that scry, Chris87? I don't remember. So, Squirrel Sanctuary comes on down. I was foolish, folks, and was hovering the card. Land Sylvan Anthem, going to grow our 1/1 into a 2/2 and make it so future creatures that get out of the board scry in addition to their other things. Well, our opponent slams Narset, Part of Reveals. I vehemently hate this card. This is the sort of card I wish just did not exist. So let's remove it from this particular game at the very least and feel better about ourselves for having done it. Hengate Pathway comes down, and Wrath of God sweeps away a 3/3, which used to be a 1/1. We miss a land drop. Tragic indeed. But Chitterspitter is a good card. It allows us to create, you know, advantages every single turn just by sinking a single mana. So, hey, there's our mana. And Chatterfang able to be resolved here. Going to scry and scry. Scute Swarm to the bottom. Squirrel Sanctuary. Tempting, but no, we'll bottom that as well. And we've got a Chitterspitter activation just waiting. Feels good. Man, farewell. Farewell. Yeah, I don't want to be here anymore. So we're going to scoop up. Possibly premature scoop, motivated by tilt, but, you know, I own it. It happens to the best of us. So, we're on to the next game. Land for our opponent, land for us. Rat Colony? Are we rattling gamers? Oh my goodness, this is fantastic. All right, so let's go with Saproling Migration and Herald Swarm. On rat, sure. Well, land... Get in for 2. And I think we're just going to go with the Chitterspitter here because we can't guarantee our land drops on future turns. It's possible it's just supposed to be Saproling Migration and Squirrel Sanctuary just to get more onto the board here. But we want to be able to start sacrificing our 1/1s and growing them since we know our opponent's rats are also likely to continue growing. In fact, we do miss land drops. Feeling bad about that, not gonna lie. So we're gonna go ahead and pass for now. Opponent deadly disputes away their rat colony. Wow, did not expect that. Herald Swarm doing things, does not reveal a rat, but here's deadly dispute, sacrificing a treasure. That makes sense now. Just deadly disputing away a single rat colony, maybe not advisable, but if you've got more than one in your hand, it makes sense. All right, these rat colonies and a pack rat shows up. All have menace because the Piper of the Swarm, we don't have interaction here. We're going to sacrifice a 1/1 Saproling to grow our squirrels. Yeah, we're going to pass for now. Plan on Chitterspittering and Verdant Commanding. Why, you might ask? Because we're missing another land drop. And this feels terrible. It really feels like we would have been running away with this game if it weren't for the fact that we're just continually missing land drops. Our opponent discards, and discards create 2 copies of Pack Rat. So we're going to throw everything and the kitchen sink in front of Pack Rat. Yep. It's quite possible I was supposed to activate here in advance and use the 3/3 as well. We could have saved some 1/1s back. I think that was kind of a punt, honestly. I felt like we were in a pretty good spot, but all of these having menace means we really needed those extra bodies. I should not have thrown them away so cavalierly there, I think. Opponent does have Castle Locked, way to draw more cards. It's another land drop, going to discard that final card. It is another land. We're on 3. Our opponent's on 7 on board and has discarded a couple. Well, they're coming in with 1,000,000. Just 1,000,000. We elect to save some additional bodies here. Take a whole bunch of damage down to 10, and Chitterspitter make a dude. We are going to continue sacrificing. We are up to 5/5s. Why do we elect to do that? Well, because we know our opponent's drawing a bunch of cards, and they have a bunch of mana, so they're going to be able to make a lot of these 3/3s larger, and we need to make sure that they can trade even when they grow significantly. So, opponent gets in. Indeed, Chitterspitter doing its thing, makes us 6/5. We block 2. Opponent makes a rat with Piper the Swarm, and they do, in fact, trade 1 away. We will not be sacrificing now, though. Finally, a land. You gotta be kidding me. Scute Swarm comes down. We could Chatter the Squirrel here, but it's the same as Chitterspitter, so there's no reason not to Chitterspitter. And, folks, Rat Colony off the top. Opponent casts it. Pack Rats grow to 4/4s. And awkward combat stop here for sure. 4/4s get in. As does the 1/1. Okay. Thinking about things. Going to discard? Not yet. Alright, Chitterspitter token. So, we get some 6/5s in front of a 4/4, and a 6/5 and a 2/1 in front of a 4/4. Our opponent going to discard, grow them up to 5/5s, trade away squirrels for rats. Seems fair, considering some are tree rats and others are just regular rats. But darn it, now the lands are showing up. Unfortunately, it's a tap land. Well, okay, we make a land drop anyway. Scute Swarm is on the board, so it makes 2 1/1s, which are 2/1s because of the Heraldic Banner. And oh my goodness, Maro Gnar off the top. You gotta be kidding me. Our Marrow going to get gnawed away. That grants all creatures fear, which means they can't be blocked except by artifact and black creatures, meaning Unblockable. That's right. Rats just laid down the law. Feels bad, but you know, not even mad. Feels good. Congratulations, Zach of all trade. That was sweet. Feels good, man. And in a way that kind of feels bad. But you know what I mean. All right. Dorfus, our next opponent. We have an awful lot of 1/1s here, but this is okay. Lair of the Hydra makes it to the battlefield, and a Squirrel Sanctuary going to follow suit. Opponent goes with Island, and we draw another 1-drop. Alright, well. Chatter of the Squirrel. Squirrel Sanctuary. And the Spell Pierce? Dorfus. Spell Piercing our Squirrel Sanctuary. Feels bad here, but Chatter of the Squirrel. And they have a Quench. Well, okay. Chatter of the Squirrel number 2. Come on down. That's 3 1/1s on board. Don't forget to count. Our 3 1/1s get in. We're going to slam a Parallel Lives. Is it going to get countered? Of course it is. It's okay. We are the ones making progress. Our opponent is just sitting on their hands while we cast things. All right. 3 1/1s get in. Brineborn Cutthroat comes down. Unsummons. Oh my goodness. Feels good, man. Blocks. Yes. Well, this gives us a perfect opportunity to slam Parallel Lives. It's true, if they had another Spell Pierce, we would have been seriously bummed. But we are now in a good position because Spore Swarm is an instant. We can cast it on their turn in response to the attacks. If they don't have a counterspell, we eat their Brineborn Cutthroat, and that would feel glorious. That said, our Chitterspitter allows us to accrue incremental advantage over the course of several turns. And with Parallel Lives on board, it's not just 1, it's 2. So our opponent attacks the Brineborn Cutthroat. Well, we double block. Opponent goes, oops, didn't read your card. And scoops him up. GG, Dorfus. GG. Okay, Chaza, our next opponent. Looks like Chatter of the Squirrel. Going to happen for turn 1. Our opponent goes down to the Bugbear and Implement of Combustion. You gotta be kidding me. Yes, reading the gamer, folks. We're going to Sylvan Anthem so we get scries. We definitely want to be able to hit land drops. So Sylvan Anthem into Verdant Command, a very, very convenient thing to do. Deadly Dispute draws 2, but Implement, when it goes to the graveyard, draws a card. So that was technically a 2-mana draw 3 there. Our opponent has a whole bunch of stuff going on. We're trying to decide if we're going to exile things. We elect to do so because we're expecting our opponent to be getting artifacts back from the graveyard, right? But we need to scry lands to the top, and here it is. Doing it in the upkeep so that we have the opportunity to actually draw them. But, not going to lie, it feels a little bad. Speaking of not gonna lie, feels a little bad. Here's Meathook Massacre coming down, wrecking our plans. So scry. It's another land, unfortunately. It's a tapped land. Feels bad. Okay. Voldaren Epicure. Going to make a blood token and ping us for 1. Uh-oh. Oni Cult Anvil. And suddenly, folks, things were fine. Just inconvenient. And they are becoming terrifying. So we're gonna Sylvan Anthem. Crash in for 1, we're going to lose 1, or crash in for 3. We're going to lose 1 in the process when they chump block. Only Cult Anvils, though. A second one shows up. Unlicensed Disintegration. And, oh my word, our opponent gains a life. We lose 3. Oni Cult Anvils trigger, gaining 2 1/1s and draining us a whole bunch down to 11. We're going to create a bunch of Vivien stuff. Does it even matter? Yeah, that's right. We're going to pop down a Vigilant creature. I mean, feels good, man. Except, does it? Ugh, lose a life. Get drained for life. Ugh, 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 ugh. Lurrus gets added to hand and cast straight away. Oni Cult Anvil does a little sacrificing, a little draining. We draw our Chatterfang, but, like, what does this even do, you know? Okay, well, yeah, Chatterfang scries, we go bottom. Chatterfang scries, we go bottom. Vivien goes up. Vigilance gets added to both of the tokens. Feels good. We would love to have a bunch of Vigilant 3/3s. If we weren't dead, folks. So, I mean, we crash in with the 5/5. Yes, they sacrifice it in response. Yes. We knew that was going to happen, but, like, what do you do? You know, I feel pretty powerless here. Definitely not where we want to be, But alas, Chuzza casts Voldaren Epicure from the bin. Going to deal the damage, going to create a blood token. Opponent going to use the Oni Cult Anvil to sacrifice the blood token. But not before go blanking us, just to demoralize us further. Almost certainly because, like, they, you know, wanted to be as safe as possible. Why allow us to have cards in hand when they can prevent that thing, you know? But Kolaghan's Command going to do the ditty. But not before Oni Cult Anvil kills us. GG. Chuzza. GG. All right, folks, we are back. We are back. And how was the deck? Well, honestly, I would give it a 2 hats out of 4. It was fine, but relatively pedestrian. Poor, actually. But a little pedestrian. Not the most exciting we've done for sure, but we did have a great time. It was a lot of fun. We got to do our thing with Vivien and Chatterfang, you know, a time or two. We had some good wins in there. We had some pretty unsatisfying wins. We had some pretty poor losses and a punt or two to just season things. But on the whole, what would I do differently if I had to build it again? It's a great question. Probably, I think the Heraldic Banners were better than I gave them credit for originally, and I think we might want the full 8 if you were going to be fooling around in it, so that we have Anthem Effect and Anthem Effect. We very rarely were in a situation where, like, oh, we've got too many anthems, right? Our creatures are too big. No, it's not really a thing. And we had plenty of ways of making them, so it's quite possible. Where would I cut? Great question. Maybe a Parallel Lives, and I'm not sure. A Vivien, maybe? It was fun, but I'm not sure how good it was, right? We also might, you might intend to potentially try and get a little more aggressive with this list and maybe get some more 1-drops in or something like that. That would be acceptable as well. On the whole, I wouldn't discourage you from crafting it, but I would caution you that it was a little rough at times, especially with the lack of interaction. So maybe some fight spells even might not be bad. The problem is our creatures are all small, you know, so I don't know. But it was a blast. If you have any recommendations, definitely let me know down in the chat down below. I would appreciate it. You folks have a fantastic day, and I will catch you next time.